Hello. Today we are going to be discussing how to estimate sums and differences. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to discuss some vocabulary. The word estimate means to find an approximate answer or a solution. A very common thing when you're talking about estimation is that, at least for adding and subtracting decimals, you are going to be rounding. That is like throughout the entire lesson today, you are going to be rounding when it tells you to estimate. Once we get to multiplication and division, then we're going to talk about a few other methods. But for right now, when you find estimate, it is to round. Also, just a reminder, a sum is the answer to an addition problem and a difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So we're going to discuss for a minute how to round. I know this is something you've learned in the past, and it's just a reiteration of what you do when you're rounding. So if I am rounding, right here they gave you the example of 125, but a couple of important things is if they ask you to round to a whole number, you are rounding to the ones place. And after that, today we're going to also be talking about how to round to the tenths place. And so if I am given a number like 284, and I am told to round it to the nearest whole number, or no, I'm going to add a couple, 284.25, and I am told to round it to the nearest ones place, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to circle the number in the ones place. Then I am going to underline the number right next to it. So I need to remember the 4 or less, let it rest, and 5 or more, raise the score. So when I look at this 2 is less than 4. So it tells me that this 4 that I circled stays the same. So when I'm rounding 284.25 to the nearest whole number, it would be 284. If I had something like 284.52, and I'm rounding that to the nearest whole number, I'm looking at this 5, and this 5 falls under the category of 5 or more, raise the score. So the score I need to raise is the score of this number that is circled. So 4, when I raise 4 one number, it becomes a 5. And so this one would be 285. So let's do a few problems. There's a lot of problems here. Right here. So as we're solving some of these problems, we are going to practice the 4 or less, let it rest, or 5 or more, let it raise the score. So if I have 438 and 909.17, I can't talk today, 4.38 and 9.179, and I am rounding it to the nearest whole number, I am looking at the whole number, the ones place. So this one I am looking at the 4, and this one I am looking at the 9. And I'm going to look at the number right next to it. So if I'm looking at 3, it is under the 4 or less, let it rest. So my 4 stays a 4. And 9.1791 is also in that category, 4 or less. 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the numbers. Let it rest, so my 9 stays a 9. So 4 plus 9 would equal 13. Let's look at number 2. Because I am raising it to the whole number, I am looking at my ones place. So I've got 2, and I'm looking at the 8. And I'm going to circle this 2, and I'm looking at the 7. So 8 goes in the 5 or more, raise the score. And so my 62 would become a 63. My 2 will go up one number. Minus, and my 7 is also in that same category. 5 or more, raise the score. So I'm looking at my 2, and my 2 becomes a 3. So my 12 will become a 13. 63 minus 13 equals 50. And let's look at this one right here. I am going to circle my ones place, and I'm going to look at the number next to it. 8 is in the 5 or more. Let it 5 or more, raise the score. So my 52 will actually go up one digit, and it will be 53. This one right here, I'm going to circle my 7, and I'm going to look at the 2. The 2 is less than 4, so I let it rest. So my 97 will stay a 97. So 53 plus 97 would give me 150. I will do a few more examples down on the bottom. So for number 4, I have 131.049 minus 82.604. Notice I did line up my decimals right here. So let me circle my whole number. So 1 and 2, and I'm looking at the 0 and 6. 0 falls in the category of 4 or less, let it rest. So my 131.049 will equal 131. 6, on the other hand, is 5 or more, raise the score. So my 82 will become an 83. And so I'm doing 131 minus 83. I've got to borrow, so 11, and this becomes a 2. 11 minus 3 would give me an 8, and I've got to borrow again. So 12 minus 8 is 4, 0 minus nothing is 0. So 131 minus 83 would give me 48. Let's look at number 5. I have 79.14 plus 32.546. Because I am rounding, I am not going to put my placeholder zeros, but I'm going to circle the number in the ones place because I'm rounding to a whole number. And I'm going to underline the number right next to it. So this one right here is 4 or less, let it rest. So my 79.14 will just become a 79. And my 5 right here is 5 or more, raise the score. So my 32 will go up one number and become a 33. So 79 plus 33. Now all I have to do is do the math that I already know how to do. 9 plus 3 is 12. 7 plus 1 is 8, plus 3 would give me 11. So my answer is 112. And let's look at number 6. I have 48.468 plus 63.029. Again, I did line up my decimal points. Now I am still rounding to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to circle it. So I'm going to circle my 8, and I'm going to circle my 3, and I'm going to look at the number next door. So with 4 next door, 4 is under the 4 or less, let it rest. So my 48 will stay 48. And my 0 is also in that 4 or less, let it rest. So my 63 will stay a 63. So 48 plus 63, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then 10, 11 right here. So my answer would be 111. Let's do a couple more examples. For number 7, I have 112.658 minus 81.903. Because I'm rounding to the nearest whole number, I'm going to circle the whole number, 2 and 1, and I'm going to underline the numbers next to them. 6 is more than 5, so I'm going to raise my score. So my 112 will become 113, and 9 is also more than 5. So my 81 will become an 82. Now I'm subtracting. 3 minus 2 is 1. I have to borrow. 11 minus 8 is 3. So my answer for 7 will be 31. Let's look at 8. I have 586.735 minus 204.63. Again, I lined up my decimals. I do have this extra place with nothing, so I'm going to put my 0. I am rounding to the nearest whole number, so I'm going to circle my digit and my number in the ones place. I'm going to underline the numbers next to them. 7 goes in that category of 5 or more, raise the score. So my 586 will go up one digit and it becomes 587. And then 6 is also the same category, 5 or more, raise the score. So my 204 will become a 205. And now I'm going to subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2. 8 minus 0 is 8. And 5 minus 3 would give me 3. So my answer is 382. And let's do number 9. I have 107.139 plus 90.621. I lined up my decimals. Now I've got to circle my numbers that are in the ones place. I've got 7 and I've got 0. And I'm looking next door. 1 is 4 or less, let it rest. So my 107 will stay 107. 6 is in the 5 or more, raise the score. So 90 will go up one digit to a 91. So now 7 plus 1 is 8, 9 plus 0 is 9, and 1 plus nothing is 9, or 1 plus nothing is 1. So it's 198. We got that page done. Let's go to our next one. Let's see. These ones, it says to the nearest tenth right here. This is the same exact steps. The only thing is you're looking at a different place value. So the 10th place is that first number after the decimal point. So with this one right here, I'm going to circle my 0, and I'm going to look at my 5, and I'm going to circle my 6, and I'm going to look at my 2. So 5 is in the 5 or more, raise the score. So my 17.058 will become 17.1 minus, let me put it down here, minus 8.6232 is 4 or less, let it rest, so it stays 8.6. Now I have my decimal points lined up, so the next thing I am going to do is borrow. So my 1 becomes 11 and my 7 becomes a 6. 11 minus 6 is 5. 6 minus 8 I can't do, so I have to borrow. My 1 will become 0. My 6 will become 16. 16 minus 8 is 8, so my answer would be 8.5. We're going to do number 11. We are now going to do number 11. For number 11, I'm going to write down 38.8314, and I'm going to do 15.62. Now I have to line up my decimals. So I've got them lined up, and next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to circle my number in the tenths place. So 6 and 8, and I'm going to look at the number next door. So 3 tells me that I let the 8 stay the same. So 38.8 is what that becomes. And now 2 tells me 4 or less, let it rest. So 4 tells me that the 6 stays the same as well. So it is 15.6 plus. Now all I'm going to do is add it up. 8 plus 6 is 14. 10 plus 5, or 8 plus 5 plus 1 is also 14. And 1 plus 3 plus 1 would give me 5. Now I need to finish off by putting my decimal point, and I will be done with number 11. Now let's solve number 12. 12 is 26.429 minus 6.703. In order to solve this problem, the first thing I am going to do is I am going to circle the number in the tenths place, my 4 and my 7, and I'm going to underline their neighbor. 2 would tell me to let it rest, so I'm going to just put 26.4, and 0 tells me to let it rest, so 6.7, and I made sure to keep my decimal points lined up. Now I'm going to subtract. I can't do 4 minus 7, so I have to borrow. My 4 becomes a 14, and my 6 becomes a 5. 14 minus 7 is 7. 5 minus 6 I can't do, I have to borrow, so my 2 becomes a 1, and my 5 becomes a 15. 15 minus 6 would be 9, and 1 minus nothing is 1, so my answer would be 19.7. Let's do number 13. 13 is 238.562 minus 104.387. First things first, I have to circle my number in the tens place. So I've got 5 and I've got 3 and I've got to line it here and line it here. 6 is the 5 or more. At this point, I need to raise the score. So my 5 becomes a 6. Otherwise, I'm going to copy everything else. 238.6 and 104.387. 8 tells me that my 3 I need to raise the score. So it's 104.4. 6 minus 4 is 2. 8 minus 4 is 4. 3 minus 0 is 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. And I'm going to put my decimal point. I am done with number 13. Let's look at 14. 400.628 plus 291.037. With this one right here, the first thing I need to do is I need to circle my number in the tens place. And I'm going to underline their neighbor. So 2 is 4 or less, let it rest. So my 6 stays the same. So 400.6. And 3 is also in the 4 or less.
Please meet your sister here.
Sorry. 3 is also in the 4 or less, so I'm going to let it rest. So 291.0. Now I need to add these up. 6 plus 0 is 6. 0 plus 1 is 1. 0 plus 9 is 9. 4 plus 2 is 6. And I need to bring my decimal point down. Very, 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 very important. We are done with this one. And let's do number 15. 76.451 minus 68.399. At this point right here, I am first going to circle my digit in the tens place, 4 and 3, and I'm going to underline their neighbor. 5 is 5 or more. Raise the score. So that's going to become 76.5. And 9 is also in that 5 or more. Raise the score. So my 3 is going to become a 4, so 68.4. 5 minus 4 is 1. 6 minus 8 I can't do. I have to borrow it, so it becomes a 16, and my 7 becomes a 6. 16 minus 8 is 8. 6 minus 6 is nothing. So I just put my decimal point, and I am done. Now let's go to our next problem. Right here. The area of the Davis's living room is 18.07 square yards, and their bedroom has an area of 15.78 square yards. Round to the nearest 10 and estimate the amount of carpet they would need to buy. Because I hear the word area, I automatically would think, well, I need to multiply. But with this problem, I don't. I need to look at what they're asking. They want to know how much carpet they need to buy, which means that I need to add the area for the living room and the area for the bedroom. So I'm going to put 18.087 plus 15.78. Now to solve it, it tells me to round it to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to circle the digit in the tenths and underline their neighbor. 8 is in the 5 or more, raise the score. So I am going to do 18.1, and this 8, same thing. So my 7 is going to become an 8, so 15.8. Now I need to add it. 1 plus 8 is 9. 8 plus 5 is 13. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3, and I'm just going to add my decimal point. So it would be 33.9 square feet. Now we've got one more problem, and this next one has a little bit of an extra tweak that you need to make sure you pay attention to. Angela has a $5 bill, 2 $10 bills, and a $20 bill. So how much money does she have? She has 20 plus 10 plus 10 plus 5. So she has a total of $45. Now the question is, she wants to buy a DVD for $17.89, a pen for $5.12, and shoes for $12.99. It says estimate the sum tells me I'm adding, to the nearest dollar, then tell which bill she would have to hand to the cashier. So I am rounding these to $1. So I'm going to circle my 7 and underline my 8. Circle my 5, underline my 1, and circle my 2, underline my 9. 8 is in the 5 or more, raise the score. So my 17 becomes 18. 1 is the 4 or less, let it rest. So my 5 stays 5. And $12.99, 9 is 7 or 5 or more, raise the score. So that becomes a 13. $13 plus $5 is $18 plus $18 would be $36. Now, what bills would she have to give? Well, she can't do if she did a 20, a 10, and a 5, she'd only have $35. That's not enough money for a $36 purchase. So she has to give the 20 and the 2 10s to the cashier. We're done. Good luck on your assignment and have a great night. I'll see you in class. Bye.